Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another Destiny video. In today's video, it feels like ages since I've done one of these, but it's about time for another exotic weapon video. Now I know this gun has been around since day one, but I literally only just got it last week when Zil was selling it. It was one of the two exotic weapons I was missing before I could say my collection was complete, minus obviously the PlayStation exclusive weapons because I play on Xbox One. And the weapon I'm talking about, if you haven't already got it from the title and the thumbnail, is Red Death. So, first up, let me just give you a quick rundown of why this weapon is so special, then we'll jump into some PvE and PvP scenarios and talk about how it fares up. Red Death is a pulse rifle, meaning it fires in bursts, and it's ideal for medium range engagements. It deals kinetic damage, which means while it's great for general day-to-day combat, when it comes to nightfalls with burns, it's probably not going to be your primary weapon of choice. On top of that, the two key perks you need to know about, besides the usual weapon enhancement mods, are Unflinching, which makes it easier to aim this weapon when under fire, so in those situations where you're in a head-on gun battle, if your aim is good, you should have a chance of coming out on top. Then the main perk, also named Red Death, makes it so that every time you kill an opponent, you are healed slightly. Plus your reload speed is sped up. Now while it won't heal you for an entire life bar, it is still enough to replenish some much needed health if you're pinned down. I find this perk is much more useful and effective in PvE, simply because if you have a group of enemies shooting at you, picking them all off with headshots is relatively easy, and in turn, the multiple kills result in the healing effect invariably replenishing your entire life bar. Where I don't find this quite as effective is PvP, but I'll speak more about that in a bit. Before I move on to the actual applications, let's take a quick look at the perk in action. If I throw a grenade down on the ground and let it damage me, if I do nothing else, you'll see this is my usual recovery time. If I do the exact same thing, then shoot these enemies here, you'll notice how my life bar heals each time I land a kill. Now looking at these side by side, you can see, in a scenario where you have a group of enemies to take down, this can be quite effective. So, where would you use this? Well, to be honest, it's going to be useful no matter where you go for the most part. The ability to heal upon landing a successful kill is something that will be useful at all times. However, that being said, in Krotosan Raid, if you are working your way through the Abyss, you can actually survive onslaughts of Thrall jumping at you, provided your aim is true and you can keep killing them. You can usually, while you have ammo, out-heal the incoming attacks, provided you continue killing them. And obviously in addition to that, at the end of Krotosan Raid, when you lose the ability to heal, especially in hard mode, then this can come in mighty handy. So, right now you can clearly see it has its uses in PvE, but what about PvP? Now before the 1.1.1 update, pulse rifles were basically never used in PvP simply because they were seen as weak and underpowered. However, the update blessed pulse rifles with a 9.7% damage increase across the board, both PvE and PvP, and that meant that people began considering them a little more in the Crucible. Now the first thing I will say is that the healing perk, while it still works in the Crucible, is a little more situational. See, where it works great in PvE is when you have hordes of enemies to kill. In the Crucible, your engagements are usually a lot smaller, and as such you don't always get a chance to reap the benefits. That being said, it will keep you alive a bit longer if you're under fire from multiple people, and pulse rifles in general are still pretty good in PvP. So, as always, if your aim is true, and you can take down your opponent quickly, then you have a good chance of winning a 2v1 gun battle. The wider question of whether pulse rifles are really great in the Crucible is probably a discussion for another video. I definitely like using them, and they can produce some pretty good results, but I personally don't find them as effective as hand cannons. Maybe that's just my playstyle, maybe it's because I haven't given pulse rifles the same time as I have hand cannons, but either way, I'm not sure I'm actually going to be using Red Death as a permanent replacement for something like Fatebringer, The Last Word, or Thorn. Now, with all of that said and done, to wrap this video up, something I haven't done before in one of these videos, but something I thought you guys might find interesting, and that's a rating. However, not just my rating. As you know, my friend 269 that runs this channel with me is far better in the Crucible and FPSs in general, so I'm going to give this gun two separate ratings. One from me, and you know, having seen my videos in the past, how I play in the Crucible, so feel free to make of that what you will, and then one from 26, who would be a much better indicator for those of you that spend considerable amount of time in the Crucible, and therefore you may like to listen to his rating slightly more. So, personally, based on the past few days worth of Crucible, I would give this gun 3.5 stars simply because, while it's great in PvE, the lack of element means there will always be situations where I wouldn't want to use this gun. And in PvP, while it's great and pulse rifles are far more viable, it still didn't click with me like hand cannons did. On the flip side, 26 gave this 4.5 stars. Pulse rifles are now his go-to weapon, and two well-placed bursts to the head can take down most opponents if used in the right hands, meaning it can be a really deadly weapon, and the healing perk is a nice added extra which can keep you in the game a little bit longer. So, there you have it. That's it for my Red Death video, something a little bit different from the norm, so let me know in the comments down below both what you thought of the video and what you think of this gun. As always, if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and hit that thumbs up button down below, and obviously if you're not already part of the Arekkz Gaming Nation, then hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single video. Thank you very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.